Good evening, villains. For those of you who are joining me for the first time, I'm building a management RTS game where you play the role of a villain protagonist in the likes of Sauron, Thulsa Doom, and many others. So it's been a while since I've made a video. I doubt anyone cares why, but in case you do, here's the reasons. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about the latest progress. Before this video, attacking wasn't really done by clicking on something. Yeah, it seems dumb now, but everything was controlled by jobs. So you'd control your protagonist using a job as well as your minions. And to get them to attack people, you would give them a job to kill enemies. And then they'd find the nearest enemy and attack them. And I mean, it works, but as the player, it's deeply unsatisfying not to have that pinpoint control on the guy that you're possessing. So I added a special case where if you're controlling the guy, clicking on something tells them to attack that thing. They still get the job to attack something, but they just attack that one specific thing. During my testing and coding, I also kept forgetting to equip a weapon. At the moment, we don't have unarmed combat, and it's not planned for a while. So without a weapon, you can't attack, and just having silent failures is really annoying. So I added a little notification thing where it tells you warnings like you need to equip a weapon, or showing damage numbers, which is a good quality of life thing. After click to attack and my reminder to equip a weapon was working, the next thing I did was to add a little cursor feedback. So when you mouse over a tree, you get a little axe. When you mouse over an enemy, you get a sword. And when you're in the UI, you get a hand. I changed the movement indicator from a decal to a spinning sword thing. The decal was annoying, how it would project onto uneven surfaces or be partially obscured by the grass. It didn't always look the same, so it wasn't a reliable visual indicator. After fixing various bugs, I decided to add some cool stuff and grabbed these models. For what I think, this is the best looking Cyclops in the asset store, and lore-wise, given all the Uguru are mutants, the most lore accurate. A giant metal knight dude looks badass, and I love the brutal chunky metal plates he has for armor. It reminds me of a certain someone. I updated the death logic so when someone dies a little bit, they play an animation and fall on their knees. When someone dies with over 50% of their health in a single hit being overkilled, they get ragdolled, and if they are overkilled by more than 50% of their max health, they actually get dismembered and explode into chunks of meat. Plus, they get knocked back. This only happens with physical damage, however. Annoyingly, there's some problems with the mesh stretching, and these guys being spaghettified when they dismember. I looked around and spent a lot of time about how to fix this, but I think the correct solution is basically to make a separate mesh with detached limbs, and then activate it at runtime when the normal mesh is deactivated. You can do it on the existing mesh, but it's a lot more complicated and you still get visual artifacts. In some games like zombie games, you have only a couple different models, and configuring each one to have separate limbs is not too bad because you don't have to do it too many times. In my particular game, I'm planning on having many different types of creatures that you can summon and hire and recruit, and lots of enemies as well. Configuring a separate dismemberment model for every single one of them sounds really tedious. So what I'm thinking of doing is making kind of like the Baldur's Gate 2 dismemberment, where if somebody dies and takes too much damage, they just turn into lots of different chunks of meat. Maybe with different presets for the different sizes of creatures. I'd like to do that, and let me know what you think about it in the comments. I also added a Cyclops to make quite a bit of effort to make him feel like a giant. He walks a little bit slower. He spawns dust clouds when he walks and has separate giant animations, a booming footstep sound. He's got a larger model obviously, and a lot longer reach in melee combat. Adding all that was fairly easy, but there's some other problems with giants that are a bit harder to fix. One of them is when he sits on a throne. Later, I'll add a giant skill tree, which will enable giant-sized creatures to do cool stuff like pick up enemies and throw them as projectiles. Another annoying problem I have is that there's no rotation animations at the moment. Adding them in requires some animation layering, which I'm not really too keen on doing right now, so for the time being, everyone's just gonna spin when they need to rotate. Finally, when I added in the Metal Knight and did the whole dismemberment mechanic stuff, One thing I thought that would be really cool to add would be add a bit of force. So when a guy gets dismembered, they get knocked back and upwards. Very similar to this particular scene from Lord of the Rings. Now I'll leave you with that, and I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one.